Hello, how are you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're discussing property fraudsters. You might be thinking, that doesn't affect me, but trust me, it's more common than you think, and it can happen to anyone. We're diving deep into how these property fraudsters work, how you can spot them, and most importantly, how to protect yourself. Essentially, property fraud is any illegal activity that involves deception to gain ownership or control of someone else's property. You could be forging documents, impersonating homeowners, exploiting loopholes in the legal system. This isn't just about losing money, it's about losing your home, your peace of mind, and your sense of security. And those are basic needs, sense of security and peace of mind, absolutely. So what are we talking about here? Not getting what you're expecting. We've had several properties recently, several home buyers in our area that have purchased property, sight unseen, from out of state and moved to our area. Now when they arrive, they find vacant land and they were expecting a home. So now they're homeless, they moved from out of state, most likely they don't have a job because they just moved from out of state, they don't have an income, they have nowhere to go, they don't have a place to live, and they probably have family with them as well that needs a place to be safe and have that peace of mind. So what are they gonna do? They have to beg on the mercies of the area people to help them be in a safe place. For example, there was property listed like this on our MLS. It said it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house on Arrowhead Drive in Cherokee Village. I knew there was not a house there because I've been by there before, but I made sure. I went over to the house, drove up the driveway. I even did a short of it and posted it on YouTube and said, this is why it's important to have a local realtor working for you. And we had sold it to someone actually years ago, and that's the other reason I knew about it. It's just, it was a teeny tiny home. They were gonna fix it up. They bought it for $5,000. But even with that amount of money, they weren't able to fix it up. They let it go back. It went back for taxes, and then the city raised and removed it. So there was nothing there. It was just land. So I took those pictures. I notified the MLS that this home was not there and that this should not be marketed as a home because I didn't want somebody to buy it and think they were getting a home. Now later, that they did go ahead and take it off the MLS, but they relisted it again as a home, and I'm like, no. So I had to report it again to the MLS and tell them to take it down. And the listing agent was not from this area. I don't even think he was in this state. They just posted it from pictures from the tax card, and probably the owner wasn't even aware that there wasn't a home there. He probably bought it on a tax sale himself, thought he was gonna flip it, make a bunch of money. But the fact was that he was still deceiving other people. Even if he didn't know the information, he hadn't gone there and verified it. For someone purchasing this property, if I wouldn't have said anything, they could have bought it and could have fallen on some very hard times because they thought they were buying a home that they could actually live in. Another common property fraudster is mortgage fraud. And this is a big one because they'll falsify loan applications, they'll inflate property values, and even create fake properties like I just talked about. There's also wire fraud. We run into this a lot with any closing that we deal with. You'll see this as a disclaimer on my email that don't ask me to give you wire instructions because I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you to call the title company so you can get it directly from them. I don't want to mix up the numbers. Get it directly from them. They can't email it. I think they can fax it, but it has to be something that you verify directly with the source. There has been people, lots of people, unfortunately, that have lost houses, purchased properties, thousands and thousands of dollars with wire fraud. And so that is a big deal too. There's also deed fraud, where people can forge property records like deeds or titles. They're literally stealing the property right out from underneath you. And so we do have some title companies in our areas that are making mobile notaries go to sellers if you're not coming into their office. Either you come to their office and you sign the property so they can verify your identity themselves, or if you're going to be out of area, you're not going to come into their office, then they require that you use that mobile notary so that they can have another source to verify other than just you walking into the bank and saying, here, this is my driver's license. It's another way that people can really get you fraud out by take away your property without you even owning it. For example, I had somebody that wanted to list their property, and they didn't contact me. They contacted another realtor in the area and said, I'm going to give you the name because it doesn't matter. I'm John Sanazaro. This is my property and I want to sell it. And she just thought it was really weird the way he approached her. So she asked him, we really do want to verify your identity. So we'll ask you for your driver's license if you're a buyer or a seller, and where is your property residence and things like that. She's got a driver's license from him, but she contacted me because the Zanazaros had another property that I already had listed. This was some land that they had listed across town. And I'm like, John Zanazaro is passed away. He's not alive. That's not who you're talking to. So that person was trying to get their property listed for sale so he could take in the money from the sale. So there's lots of different ways that you can be frauded with property. Common tactics used by property fraudsters include everything from vacant properties like rental and vacation homes. For example, they can advertise on Facebook these houses that they're vacant, and then, or even they've taken them from our website and pretend like they're the people that manage the properties, take the money, and then the people never get the keys, or they just create fake properties that are available for rent. They also use fake IDs to impersonate people and take advantage of outdated or poorly protected property records for people that are out of state and aren't watching that they get their bills paid and that they get their property taxes paid. If they're out of state and it's not something that they use regularly. So they're scanning those public data spaces for properties with owners out of state or outdated information that are easier targets. It's easy to forget that, oh, I have that house in Arkansas and I forgot to tell them that I moved across town, and oh shoot, I didn't get my tax bill and I didn't pay my taxes. I hope that somebody else didn't buy my property because I didn't pay taxes for 5 years. Well, they probably did. They're also going to be diving deep into your personal information. They're going to be fishing through your emails for people that you contact that you give money to. They'll also be calling you, scammers will be calling you to pretend that you're from your mortgage company or the government or title companies, trying to find ways to get access to your bank accounts or get your personal information so that they can do all these tactics to get your money or your property. They'll steal your personal information so that you can pretend like you're making payments to fraudulent accounts or create that mortgage that you never had on your property and have it foreclosed on and take it away. So they can be very sophisticated, but they often leave behind subtle clues that you have to be careful to catch. So what are these red flags that we want to look out for? Receive any unexpected correspondence. If you get a letter in the mail that says it's from a mortgage company when you don't have a lien on your house, if you get an email from an attachment that says click here to make your payment, these are all red flags. I encourage my staff anyway to not open PDFs when you're not expecting someone to send you something like bills or foreclosure notices. You just want to investigate immediately. Don't necessarily call the number on the letter, but call a respected source of information. We've actually seen these letters come into our area. I know somebody that has a house that got a letter that said, hey, your mortgage is behind. You are going to be foreclosed on. He doesn't have a mortgage. His home is free and clear. So why would he be getting a letter that says you need to refinance or you need to pay your mortgage payment? Well, of course, there's a phone number on there that says, wait, the first person you're going to call is them because you're panicked. No, don't call that number. You can call the county and make sure that there hasn't been any liens recorded. Or what I did was I sent it to the newspaper and said, hey, this is somebody that's trying to scam somebody about money, and people need to be aware that this is a scam. Because if you did have a mortgage, you might actually think that was your mortgage company and contacted them and make a payment. You may also have a buyer or a tenant that insists on making a quick deal without proper documentation. That could be a major red flag. Or even a seller that says, just pay me my money and here I'll give you a deed that's worthless. Just be wary of any discrepancies in property records or unverified changes to your personal information. Vigilance is definitely your first line of defense. You want to be watching your bills, watching your payments, watching your accounts, and just be very careful with any information that you give out. So what are ways that you can protect yourself from this property fraud? You want to make sure that you monitor your property records. Check it regularly to make sure that somehow your address hasn't been changed, somehow your deed hasn't been changed, or somehow it got changed to a name that isn't anything to do with you. And when you do buy property, whether you're buying or selling, that the deed is actually recorded in the county of record, so you have the right, they have the right information. You want to also, when you're buying property or selling property, review the title commitment to see if there's any liens that the seller may not be aware about, or that the title company's okay with, but you might not be okay with. And make sure that you pay your taxes even if you don't receive a bill, because it's not the county's responsibility to make sure you get that bill. They send it to the last address that you gave them, and if they didn't get the payment, it's going to be going back to the state or into foreclosure. And again, be wary of any unsolicited offers. Don't fall for those, we can get a better deal for you on your mortgage calls, because maybe they can, but if you haven't been looking to refinance, why are they asking you to refinance? So, and they probably don't have enough information about you or your mortgage to really know the answer to that question. But I'm not telling you not to refinance. I'm just saying if somebody reaches out to you out of the blue, that's a little suspicious. Now make sure you research thoroughly before you're renting or buying. Do your due diligence. Verify who actually owns the property, or if the property management actually has proof that they are the ones that can give you the key if you pay the deposit. And 100%, if you can do a walkthrough whether you're buying or selling, or if you have a trusted person in the area that can do a walkthrough for you, that's very important also. And of course, I also want to protect all your personal information. Be mindful who you share your date of birth, social security number, anything that's valuable information that's unique to you. I wouldn't get it out unless it's absolutely necessary, and honestly, if I do give it out, I usually fudge a little bit, so they don't actually have the correct information. And you also want to make sure you shred any sensitive documents, but you also have to keep certain records, so you have to have that fine balance. And if you ever have a question, ask for help. Who in the local area knows about mortgages, knows about deeds? Talk to a person that knows the answers to the question, whether it's your local real estate agent or your real estate attorney or the title company. They can help you validate if your property is in your name, if you have any liens, who buys or rent property. That's all proper record, who owns the property and who's renting it. And you also have to protect yourself from title insurance, from fraud, where there are people that if you're going to buy a home, you want to make sure there's not any liens on the property. They're actually getting title insurance. There's plenty of people that will give you a deed without title insurance. So just make sure that you're doing all your research and that you do your best to make sure that you've done your due diligence when you're dealing with property. So what do you do if you suspect fraud? You've done all your research, you find out that this information that you got is not true. You want to first report it to the local law enforcement, because you don't want somebody else to fall victim to this, and maybe they didn't do the research and they just went with it. It deals with property. Check with your title company, check with your mortgage company if you have one, and make sure that nothing has changed on your property and it's still in your name. And that also goes for the county office. See if any liens have been recorded that you weren't aware of. There could be mechanics liens, tax liens, material liens that could be recorded that you weren't aware of, and that they have your correct address to send your statements to, so that you can make sure that you are paying your taxes when they're due. And lastly, check your credit. Contact all the credit bureaus. Usually you can do it for free at least once a year. See if anything's been compromised. You can also put fraud alerts, so that if any new credit is made in your name, that you can find out about that. Or just simply freeze your credit. If you're not planning on doing any new credit soon, go ahead and freeze it. It's not that hard to unfreeze it, but then at least you know if it's frozen that nobody can get access to it without contacting you first. With the right knowledge and tools, you can stay one step ahead of these property fraudsters. These are serious crime with devastating consequences to many people. By staying informed and taking the necessary precautions, you can protect yourself and your property. If you have any questions or have been a victim of property fraud, leave it in the comments below. Also check out this video I did on delinquent tax sales, where many people have been frauded about property they thought they could build on. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.